Hi, art students. This week, we're going to continue to work on our art projects, and let's start with the Godzilla of the week. So first, let's look at the numbers. Legion is actually a Gamera monster. Gamera is like a fighting turtle, like Godzilla. Anyways, he only got 4 votes, so not very many. Mechagodzilla Classic got 15 votes for second place, which is pretty good. And Godzilla 2000 received 20 votes. And then finally Mogra, who you probably don't even know who that is, only received 4 votes. So Godzilla 2000 is the winner. And so I'm going to show you Godzilla 2000. So here he is. Okay. You can tell that this Godzilla's way, like, he's different than the other Godzillas. Like, look at his spines, like they're all spiky. And he has a real more aggressive look. He's pretty awesome. This particular model, this white is actually glow in the dark plastic. He came molded in this white, so I painted all the green but left the white, so that all the white parts, like his teeth and his claws and his spines, they actually glow in the dark. He's pretty cool. So this is Godzilla 2000. He's from the movie Godzilla 2000, which was a new movie back at the time, but now that's like 20 years old. So he's pretty rad. All right. Okay. Don't forget, most of you are finished with your first project. So 4th grade is finished with their Rubik's Cubes, and 5th grade is finished with their Perspective VCS, and 6th grade should be finished with their Perspective City. So don't forget, you need to turn in your homework. You can bring it to school during your pod time. So during pod time, you'll actually bring your artwork to school, and in your home classroom for pod time, there should be a big art folder. There's a big art folder, and normally I put supplies in there. So you take your artwork and you put it in there in the folder. And then I also have art supplies for this week as well. So for 4th grade, you'll get a packet of Campbell Soup stuff. So there'll be like a page of Campbell Soup cans, and there'll be kind of like a not cardboard, but cardstock paper that you can cut out a can. So there'll be a little packet. And then for 5th grade, you picked it up last week, but if you missed it last week, there's also a packet. So it's like a Starbucks packet. And there'll be like 3 pages of Starbucks doodle ideas, and there's some pages. And then 5th grade also gets a Sharpie, like a ultra fine point. And then for 6th grade this week, you're going to get like 6 pages of construction paper, colored construction paper. So pick that up. Now, remember, when you come to pod time, you'll bring your work and put it in there, and then get those art supplies, whatever grade you're in, and you'll get those specific art supplies, and you'll take them home. And then you'll turn in your artwork in that folder. So 6th grade's going to turn in their city, their Perspective City. 5th grade's going to turn in their VCS, and I already got a couple. So here's some you can see. So I already got a couple of these for 5th grade. And then 4th grade, you'll turn in your Rubik's Cubes. You'll actually put it in that folder. Now, you can also turn it into the office. So let's say a parent, is just going to run to school to pick something up. Your parent can actually drop off your artwork in the office. I have a big art folder in the office. That's optional. And they can also pick up art supplies in the office too. In that big art folder in the office, I have the different art supplies for the different grades. So they can kind of look through that folder and they can find what they need to bring home for you, right? But it's better that you pick up your art supplies during pod time. Now, if you're a remote only student, if you're remote only, then, and you want to turn in your artwork, you can just take a picture of your artwork, like you can have a parent take a picture of it and they can just email it to me. They can email it to me directly, or you can upload it to Canvas. Either way works. I'll check both. I'll check Canvas and I'll see, oh, this person, sent me a picture. I'll check it out. Or if you send me an email directly, I'll find that as well. So make sure you're finishing your artwork and turning it in as soon as you get a chance. Okay, so don't procrastinate. Make sure you get that stuff finished and turned in to me. If for some reason it's a week late, that's okay, but you don't want to get too far behind, because I understand that like I upload this video on, I think everyone starts on Tuesday, but like if your pod time is on Monday, which I don't think it is. So, but anyways, if you did miss your, if you missed your chance to turn it in, you can just turn it in next week, right? Or get your art supplies. So that's fine. So make sure I get those projects, pick up your art supplies, and if for some reason you can't come to school, for some reason you can't come to school, then just try to find art supplies at home. So maybe you have colored, if you're in 6th grade, you need construction paper. Maybe you have some construction paper at home. Maybe you need a Sharpie for 5th grade. Maybe you just have a Sharpie at home. You can find it, or maybe you can talk your parents into just getting one. Like I'm not asking for crazy stuff. I'm asking for stuff that normally you have at home, and if not, it's probably a good idea to have at home, like markers or crayons. Like you have crayons. You don't have crayons? You should probably go get some. Everyone, it's a good idea to have crayons at home, right? Anyways, or markers or whatever. So anyways, that's it. So let's get onto the video where we actually start our artwork. Okay, 6th graders, we're working on a new project. We're going to make a series of line cutouts, and it's going to give us positive and negative space. We're going to see different line quality. We're going to see complementary colors. Wow, what are these concepts? And then we're also going to see warm and cool colors. I'll talk about that in more detail as we get to it all, but we're going to learn a lot of different stuff out of this simple project. Now, let's talk about materials. Hopefully at school you picked up, there's 6 different colors, right? Red, green, yellow, blue, or I'm sorry, well, orange, blue, purple, and yellow, right? I don't have my blue. My blue's on the floor. These colors might be slightly different than what you're getting. Next week I'll have the actual proper colors. These are what I found from home as I'm making this video. But you're going to have 6 colors, right? And we have the primary and secondary colors. Primary color, here, I'll get the blue. Your blue's different. Your blue's going to be like a turquoise. But here we got the primary colors are, red, yellow, and blue, right? Primary. You've learned this before. I'm just reviewing so you can sound smart to your parents. And then secondary colors are green, orange, and purple. And you get these colors by mixing the primary colors, right? You're like, oh yeah! So the question is, I'm going to test you, just like Dora the Explorer. What color makes green? So you tell me. Right? Yeah, it's yellow and blue. Okay. And then what makes orange? Right, it's red and yellow. And then what makes purple? Blue and red. Yeah, you got it. So the secondary colors are made from the primary colors. That's why they're the secondary colors. And then there's tertiary colors. Those are like, what, yellow, green, and violet, different ones. Like, whatever, like different ones. They're like, basically when you mix, green and yellow, you're going to get yellow, green, stuff like that. So, but anyways, but we're only learning about primary and secondary colors. Okay. And we're also going to do a series. So a series means more than one art project that comes together to make a bigger art presentation. That's a series. So like for instance, I don't know, like Andy Warhol would have a series of paintings of Marilyn Monroe, but she would be in like different colors. She'd be like he'd have like 10 different pictures of Marilyn Monroe painted in different colors. 10 different paintings, they're similar, they kind of go together but they're different, and that creates a series. It's a presentation of differently usually themed artwork that kind of goes together. So we are going to make a series. We're going to have 3 different weeks. Every week we're going to do a different cutout, line cutout. Okay, so this week it's green and red. Okay, here we go. So green and red this week. You're like, oh, but I want to do yellow and green. No, 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 no. Red and green. But I want to do orange and green. No, no, no. Red and green. Okay. So you don't get to pick the colors. I do. Why am I picking red and green? Because these are complements, right? These are complementary colors. Think of them as opposites. They create a dynamic look, like red and green, right? And these are kind of the Christmas colors, right? Red and green. And so, but they're dynamic when they go together. And so that's why we're picking them. Also, they're kind of warm and cool colors. So red is typically a warm color. It's like warm, like red, like fire. Green is more cool, like grass. Typically, grass is cool, you know, or just, you know, trees and breeze. You know, you feel like you're in a forest. It's usually cooler, right? So complements, red and green, and also warm and cool. Oh, pretty. Boy, it's almost as if I planned that. Yeah, you're right. I sure did. So what are we going to do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw wavy lines on our green sheet of paper. And this one is not too hard. The projects we're going to do in week 2 and 3 will be a little more challenging, but not that difficult, right? So we're going to draw wavy lines on our green paper. I want you to draw as many wavy lines as I do. So follow directions. And then we're going to cut them out carefully, and we're going to glue them onto our red background. So here we go. We're going to start with a wavy line, and you're going to find the center of your paper. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly exact. You're going to estimate. So I'm kind of looking at my paper here. This is about the center. So I'm going to start about here, and I'm going to draw a wavy line. Now the trick is, that was a lot of bumps. How many bumps do I do? Well, you have to cut this out. So if you're here, I'll show you. Sometimes I get overzealous students, and do I know how many scrap paper. There we go, scrap paper. Sometimes I get overzealous students, and they're like this. They're like, woo, you know. And then it's like, okay, you know, you have to cut that out now. And they're like, oh, and they do like a lot of wavy lines like that. Like they're like this. Actually, this doesn't look too bad. It's just a pain to. You're like, I'm just going to do that just because Mr. Smith told me not to. That's fine, but cut it out neatly, and you'll be like, why did I do this? You don't get a new sheet of paper, so you have to cut it out. This will actually look pretty cool if you did it this way. But my point is, this will be very challenging to cut out neatly, and you'll be like hating yourself. You'll be like, oh my gosh, so much hard work. Well, it's because you did it to yourself. Although I must say, this ain't too bad. I've seen worse. I've seen students that go like this, like these little thin lines. Like, I'll cut that out. Like, don't do this. This is what not to do. They're like, yeah, I'll draw these lines. I'll cut them out. And then they get bored after their first line. They're like, oh no, I got to cut all these out. So just follow directions. Although I must say, this looks pretty good. I'm okay with this. Just remember, you have to cut out very carefully and neatly. And you're like, I don't want to work very hard, Mr. Smith. Then good, follow directions. I'm making it kind of easy for you on purpose. It's bumpy, but it's not crazy. They're not like super zigzag either. And don't draw like nothing of a bump, something like that. You might have a bump, you might have your bumps over here and maybe not so much of a bump here, whatever. But there it is. I got 3 or 4 humps in my line. That's fine.
Now, we want to divide, so we divided our paper in half. I want to divide this half in half and this half in half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of this part. I'm going to draw another wavy line, but make it different than this one. Don't make it the same. So here I go. Like I'm going to do a bump here and then maybe some wavy, I don't know, there. So it's a little different. You don't want them to be like identical. Sometimes it's hard. They might look similar. That's okay. But try it, like on purpose, I made a higher bump here as opposed to this high bump, right? Okay. So now I want to divide this one in half. So I have two lines so far. I got the one in the center of the page, one in the center of the center, right? And now I want to do a center in the center of this. So I want this one to be different too. I'm going to go down there. Oh, I'm getting a little dangerously, don't get too thin because I'm going to have to add another line in there. So I have three lines, one in the center, one in the top center, and one in the bottom center. Okay. Remember, they can be different. You don't want them to be too zigzaggy. I mean, if they are, it's okay. You just have to cut them out. Like I'm just warning you. You have to cut it out. These are doable. Okay, now we want to divide. We have 4 areas, and we want to draw one more line in each area. So I'm gonna do one here, 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 and here. That will give me what, 7 lines? Okay, here. Anyways, I'm gonna go here. Try to make them a little different. There. Now I need one in here. Remember, you can pause if I'm going too fast. Okay. Now I want one in here. I got more space in this one. That's okay. And then I need one more over here. Okay. Try to be, it's hard to be different. Like, you know what I tried to do? I tried to make this part thicker. This one looks definitely unusual. Looks good. I don't know. You don't want all your lines to be perfectly the same. You want them to be different and wavy. So anyways, those are my wavy lines. So do I have 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So I started with 1 in the center. Then I divided the top and the bottom. That's 3. And then in between every third line, I did another line. So there's 7 lines total. If you try not to, but if you added an extra line, it's okay. Like maybe you have a big area and you're like, boy, I really need to add another line in there. Go for it. It's fine. Okay, now it's time to cut these out. So we're going to cut these out. Here we go. Let's see. Take your time. I'm going to almost cut all mine out because I don't want to like... Maybe I'll cut them all out. I'll cut them all out. It's just going to take forever. It's going to make my video longer. Just fast forward it while I'm cutting these. I'll cut them all out. Scrub to the end. But I'm cutting them out neatly, okay? You can scrub to the end, or you can move the time bar to after I'm done cutting these out. You don't have to watch me cut these out. Although we could have a real interesting conversation while I'm cutting these out. We could talk about why lines are really interesting in artwork. A lot of times people, I'll talk, but you can fast forward to the end. The end of me cutting out the lines, that is, right? But if you want to listen to me, let's talk about, lines are important in graphic design. They're real interesting, especially if they're colors, and you can use them to draw attention to certain things. You can use them to outline or circle things. You can use them to emphasize like things. If you have a real wide, bold outline around something, you really pay attention to it. You could also use lines that are very thin, and they create texture and detail, and they create like a real delicate feel. So lines can be really thick and broad, and they feel like overwhelming. But you could have real thin, hair-like, scratchy lines that kind of create a sense of delicateness. So you can do a lot with lines. Lines can be organic. These are organic because they're like wavy and kind of smooth. They're not like harsh jaggedy lines, like if like like electricity is like a hard edge angle. So you can get a lot of variety with lines that that can create a real interesting look. They use them a lot in graphic design, but there are some artists that use line to create optical illusions or just to create interesting designs. In fourth grade, we talked about Bridget Riley. Remember her? And she did that wavy line. Remember, we drew it. Like, we drew all those black wavy lines, and it kind of created an optical illusion. And that was a really fun example of, if you remember, do you remember? It was like black and white, way back in last year. She created all kinds of real interesting lines, and it created wonderful designs that were fun to look at. But you know what's funny about her? She didn't have a computer back in the day. She actually painted all those lines with a brush. So if you ever look at Bridget Riley, you know, and you look at her optical lines, I forget what they're called. It's offhand. She painted those with a brush. So she was very good at what she was doing. She took her time. Okay. I'm done. Okay. So I'm done. So if you fast forwarded to this part, I'm done cutting out all my lines. Okay. Now, you'll notice that on my lines, it's hard to see, but you can see the pencil line. You don't want to see the pencil line. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip them all over, okay? So flip over your cutouts so that the pencil line is on the back. We're going to glue the pencil line down, you know, on the red sheet of paper, so you don't have to erase. Like, there's no erasing. Like, that would be messy, and you might crinkle your lines. So I'm just flipping these over. You know, it's funny, I totally lost what order they go in, and that's totally okay, actually. It'll be a little more random. Oh, okay, so this would be on the top, and this would be on the bottom. So I flipped over all my lines. Very good. Why did I flip over my lines? For those of you just getting to this part, because you fast forwarded to this part, I flipped my lines over so you don't see the pencil lines. Okay, now I'm going to get my red piece of paper. Before we start gluing these things down, put your name on the back of your paper. So I'm going to put my name here, Mr. Smith. You'll put your name, and then put the letter of your teacher. So if you got Vanderkirk, you know, you'll just put a V, and you'll circle it. If you got Vanderdusen, you can do a VD. I do VD for Vanderdusen, or I don't know, whatever. Corver, K, whatever. Circle it. Anyways, notice how my name is not too big. It's not too small. It's about this size. That way I can read it easily. Okay, flip it back over. You want your name on the back of your paper. On the back of your paper. I go, okay, Mr. Smith, I know. Yeah, I know, but someone's going to make that mistake. Okay, now before we glue these down, we're going to position them. Now we can't fit every line onto our paper. So we're going to remove some. But you do want to start with the top and the bottom, right? Because they have a nice edge. So we'll start with those. And before we glue, we want to... Boy, let me get my lines. You don't just start gluing them down. You want to see what the lines are going to look like. And you can play around with them. Like this one doesn't even go there. Does this one go here? This one goes here. Don't worry if you get them mixed up. Like I already got mine mixed up. You could try to fit them back in place. I don't even know where they go. But it's okay. Let's see. It's okay if they don't go back in place. These don't go back in place at all. Let me see if I can find it. Nope. Sorry if I'm hitting that. Let's see. I think this one goes... well, it's okay if they don't go back in order. The problem is, though, if they... you run out of room. You know, I can flip it around. Maybe not. I want to see, gosh, I want you to try, the problem is I don't want you just to glue like 3 lines down, like don't do this, like I'm done, I got 4, like that's not enough. Try to get at least 5. If you can squeeze 6 lines in there, great. But I got a feeling I'm only going to get 5 lines in here. So 5 or 6 green lines is what I'm hoping for. But 4 is not enough, and 3, not even close, right? So have 5 or 6 lines. This one, I don't like this one. It's too big in certain parts. I'm going to try some different ones here. So let's see. I got okay. So this is where you can kind of be creative. Ooh, see, boy, these don't fit. Okay, this is 5. Remember, make sure the pencil line is on the bottom, right? Well, I guess that's pretty good. If I'm overthinking it. It's okay to overthink it because I'm trying to show you that maybe some of the lines are closer together. See, we don't have very many lines. It's hard to make a rhythm. I'm trying to make a rhythm. It's up to you. You want to look good. And you don't want to see the pencil lines, so here we go. Let me try this. So like that gives me a real thin line, right? And you don't have to necessarily do that, but if I get varieties of these lines, they might look interesting. Try this one. The point is, think about how you're going to do it. Let's see. Well, I don't know. So I have variety. I have a thin line and some thicker lines. If I made you cut out more strips, we could get more variety, but I was nice to you and we didn't cut out too many strips. Okay, now I'm going to glue. This is pretty good. I like it. It's cool. You're just going to be inventive. Remember, this is only part 1. We're going to do 2 more of these, but don't jump the gun because we're going to do different kinds of lines, and I haven't revealed to you yet what those are going to be. So don't just think, oh, I'm going to do my other colors like this week. No. You're going to wait. We're going to do different kinds of things. So now I'm ready to glue. If you have a glue stick at home, great. Glue stick will probably work the best. So here we go. I'm going to, don't use too much of this glue. Make sure you use some glue, like make sure you put some on the end and then on each end, otherwise it'll kind of peel up. Let's see, do I have other glue? If you have Elmer's glue, don't use too much. Like, I don't have Elmer's glue. Let's see, I got it. I'm gonna go grab it. Okay, hold on, I'll be right back. In my art lab, I have Elmer's glue. Glue stick works best because it's harder to use too much, right? And make sure it glues down. Like if it starts to peel up on one side, you got to add a little more glue. Okay, but let's talk about Elmer's glue. Some of you know, but you don't want to use too much of this stuff. If you use too much of this stuff, it gets all bumpy and it's not cool at all. So let me show you a couple techniques if you only have Elmer's glue. It's like, I only have Elmer's glue, Mr. Smith. That's fine. You can use Elmer's glue, but you have to be careful. So I'm going to flip this over. What's one way to use Elmer's glue? One way, the tried and true method is dot, dot, not a lot. So you're going to go like dot, 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 not a lot. Right? Maybe I can have another dot here. Now, even that can make bumps. That's kind of a lot, actually. You're like, really? That's a lot? That doesn't look like very much at all. Like some students are like they pour it all on, and then they wonder why their project looks terrible. But here's what I do. I use kind of this orange part of the nozzle, and I just kind of smear it a little. If you smear it around a little bit, I'm not adding more glue. I'm just smearing those dots around. That'll make it not so lumpy. There, that's pretty good. So that's what I do. You just smear it with the orange, whatever, the orange tip of the bottle. Oops. Okay. So that was it. Okay, I'm gonna finish mine real quick. Let's see here. Sometimes, if you just add add a little bit. You do not need a lot of this Elmer's glue. Like, That doesn't look like very much, does it? Okay, here we go. I just smear it with this part. If you're good, if I'm scaring you, if I'm scaring you, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to use a lot of glue, great, I've done my job. Normally students use way too much glue. Like barely any. You can see I barely any. Okay, here we go. See if I can get this closer. Oh, I got a little bit of glue here. Okay. Okay, final last one. Actually, the Elmer's glue works pretty good if you don't use too much. Again, I just smear it with that top part. But don't use too much. Okay, I can't stress it enough. I'm going to show you how much is too much. Okay, that's pretty good. So, you don't have to turn this in right away. Hold on to it. Turn in all 3 at the same time. So this is a 3-week project. There's no point in turning this, so we finished it, right? Didn't take very long. And hopefully, it looks interesting. Your parents are going to be like, that's too easy. Mr. Smith gave you an easy project. Perhaps, but this is week 1, and we're going to do 2 more. And they're going to be a little more elaborate than this one. I just want to start off easy. But anyways, don't turn it in yet. Wait for after the 3rd week when we'll do 3 different line cutouts, and we'll turn them, and you'll have your name on the back of each one. And you'll turn all 3 in at the same time into the art folder in your homeroom classroom. There'll be a big art folder. You just turn them, all 3 of them in at the same time. So you can hold on to this for 2 weeks while we do the other ones. The other ones will be a little more challenging, but they'll be fun. So this was kind of an easy one. Hopefully you have a different look. Remember, you're using red and green for this. Red and green. Follow directions, please. And we'll use the other colors for different stuff. What else did I want to tell you about this? I think that's it. Oh, I wanted to show you how terrible it is if you use too much glue. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. So let me show you too much glue. Don't ever do this. Don't ever oh gosh, this is like a waste. Don't ever do this. You're like, oh, what do you mean, Mr. Smith? I do that all the time. Look at all this. Oh my gosh. It's like, oh, oops, don't do this. Don't even play around about this. This is a joke, right? Remember, just a little bit of glue. You're just going to go just a little bit. And then you can smear it around like that. Look at the difference here. And then you can kind of smear this around. Let's do an experiment, and I'll show you next week what it looks like. Because these colors are wrong anyway, so I'll okay. Not very much glue. Lots of glue. And you're like, oh, but I can smear it around with the tip, Mr. Smith. Not even close. There's so much glue. This is like a catastrophe. And you're like, oh, really? I'm not supposed to use that much? That's why you have me as your teacher. Okay, let's do, I'll do this orange because I'll get some different paper from school. So let's glue these on, and then next week we'll see how lumpy that one is. So here's the good one. Oh, I did on the wrong side. I got the pencil line. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, here we go. Here's the terrible one. Oh gosh. Try not to get it on me. Oh, here we go. Let's see how lumpy this looks. You're like, doesn't look too bad, Mr. Smith. Yeah, we'll see. It gets all over your hands. It's like, oh. Okay. So let's see. Let's see. This is the. This one's not a lot of glue, and this one's lots of glue. So we'll look at this next week. We'll see how bumpy. It doesn't look too bad at the moment. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. Tune in next week to see how terrible or how not so terrible it looks. I mean, you can tell it doesn't look as good, but it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would yet, but it's probably going to crinkle up my paper. See how bumpy that's getting, and see how nice this one is. So we'll see next week. Maybe it won't be so bad, but let's find out. Anyways, that was fun. So have a great week. Remember, don't turn this in yet. Wait till we're finished with all 3 of our cutout lines, and try to. I want you to have at least 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stripes at least. If you can get a 6th stripe in there, go for it. But it's kind of hard to fit in if you had like less bumpy lines, you can fit in a 6th strip. Go for it. But remember, you want to see both. You don't want them to like. You don't want the greens to overlap. You want to see that red line, in between those green lines. So, anyways, that's it. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.